Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in to Wildcard Productions, and this is another episode of I Just Saw. And today we're talking about Captain Marvel, which I saw about a week or two by now. So I don't know if the title of this video is technically accurate, but I don't care. Um, okay, as you saw in the beginning, there will be spoilers because, let's face it, you don't want to waste your time with this movie. That being said, I think it's pretty obvious where I'm going with this one. This wasn't good. At least I didn't think so. And I wish I could say that it was just flat out terrible and I was upset that I had seen it and that it was just ripping at me, but it wasn't even that bad. It was mostly just really boring. Just really just very monotone and bland and nothing special at all, which is really weird for a Marvel movie. Even the worst Marvel movies at least give you something that you could say like, "Oh, well, I'm glad I saw that." Like I think we can all agree Iron Man 2 has been the worst one so far, and even that one gave us that really cool scene with the suitcase armor and the and it gave us War Machine and the introduction of Black Widow, and that movie did a lot of cool stuff, and even the rest of them that I kind of like that most people consider to be on the lower tier of Marvel movies, like the Incredible Hulk, Thor, Dark World. They still had some pretty cool moments that you could walk away with. They at least, they gave you something. They gave you something. Not this one, not Captain Marvel. It really felt like they weren't even trying with this one. It makes sense that this one only came out like a month or two before Endgame, Avengers Endgame. Um, so where did they go wrong? Well, for starters, they're ignoring everything from before 2012 onward in the comic book history, which is already a bad sign because the Captain Marvel books from 2012 onward are all pretty bad. And if you don't believe me, well, you can either read them yourself or just acknowledge the fact that they've been canceled and rebooted 8 or 9 times, and the numbers just keep getting lower and lower and lower for that book. No one's reading them, and the people that do read them say that they suck. So, on top of that, um, yeah, so that's mistake number one. That's mistake number one. On top of that, um, they tried to make this movie kind of like Jason Bourne, but as a superhero, where they did the whole amnesiac thing and everything, and it didn't really work out because the trailers give everything away. First of all, you find out that Carol Danvers is a military pilot who gains her powers in an explosion and everything, and she's working with the Kree Star Force for now until she gets her memories back. But all that, you already know it all. You already know all that. Even like you don't even have to be a comic book fan to know that. You just have to see the trailer, and you most likely did because there's no other reason you're going to see this movie because no one's ever even heard of Captain Marvel. What else? Oh yeah, so the this movie takes a lot of cues from the Kree Skrull War, that event in the comics that kind of really made the Kree and the Skrull really big. I guess I don't know. I haven't actually read it, but I hear good things about it, and I do plan on reading it. But one thing that I do understand is that there is no right and wrong side in the Kree Skrull rivalry. They're both just as bad as the other. If you're gonna pick a side, it's basically a lesser of two evils at that moment. And they changed that for this movie. They basically made the Skrull into the innocent victims, which I found to be an odd move to say the least. They really wanted to make the Skrull sympathetic for some reason, and they ended up doing that. And I don't know, it was just really weird. And on top of that, so it's not even like they just out and out say that the Skrull are the good guys at the beginning of the movie. This is supposed to be like this big plot twist that they throw in at the end. And it doesn't take long for Carol to just switch sides. It's just like that. It's almost instantaneous. She finds out, like, oh, the Skrull are the bad guys. No, we're not. Oh, okay. I guess I'm fighting with you then. It's really weird. Um, yeah. And then another thing that they did was they took the original Captain Marvel, Marvel, um, the the man Captain Marvel that held the title before Carol Danvers came along. The first one to ever be the Captain Marvel, and they took the one thing that people know him for, the death of Captain Marvel. They didn't even try to use that storyline. They completely ignored it. They killed Marvel off before the movie even started. Marvel's been dead for 6 years before the movie even starts, and on top of that, Marvel's not a guy. They gender swapped him, and Annette Bening is playing this role, and I'm like, she's not a bad actress, but she shouldn't have been there. Is all I'm saying. So so yeah, they gender swapped Marvel for no reason. They killed Marvel off before the movie even started. They turned the Skrull into the bad guys. The one thing that did make me upset with this movie, I mean, I was flat out mad when they did this. They took Nick Fury's eye in this movie. He starts the movie off with two eyes, because it's set in the 90s, and he's a young Nick Fury. By the end of the movie, he loses his eye. And in other Marvel movies, they've played this up as a really big deal, like it was a really big event, something that changed him and his life forever. Turns out a cat did it. Yeah, he got his eye scratched out by a cat. Oh, but it wasn't a cat, it was an alien. It looks like a cat. No, no, it was a cat, okay? It looks like a cat. It meows. It has four paws. It's a cat. It was a cat. Nick Fury does not lose his eye to a cat, okay? Well, yeah, he does, but you get my point, okay? Man. Other than that, this movie was just. I mean, you could call it a terrible movie, but you might be exaggerating just a little. I mean, it wasn't worth the hype that it was getting from everyone supporting it. Everyone in support of this movie is claiming it's the best movie ever. It's definitely not. There were some people really hoping this movie would fail hard, but that was never going to happen. It's a Marvel movie. As soon as you slap the Marvel label on something, that's going to make money. That's just how it is. But honestly, if this movie hadn't been a Marvel movie, if it hadn't been released right before the next Avengers movie, this probably would have been a big flop. And it feels like it's from the 90s too, like before they really had the whole like superhero movie thing figured out. So it's kind of fitting that it's set in the 90s. And honestly, it feels like something that was supposed to be like direct to TV or a direct to DVD movie. If I honestly felt like it was a waste of time. It was a lot of wasted potential for me, honestly. And the biggest deal about this movie, the thing that was giving it the most hype was that, they marketed it as like a really like super feminist girl power movie, which, if you want to make that movie, okay, make that movie. But if you're going to make a superhero movie, make a superhero movie. You can't really have it both ways. You can either tell a good story that, engages your audience and connects with them on an emotional level, or you can make Captain Marvel. That's how I see it. This is I sat through it, and honestly, like as it was wrapping up, after Carol Danvers gets her memories back and she gets her powers up to full potential. Oh, I'm gonna come back to that. That was a whole ordeal altogether. Um, I sat back and wondered what has happened in this movie, because this movie is 2 hours long, and it feels like absolutely nothing is happening because they really don't even attempt to make Carol Danvers interesting. And it's not even like, they could have saved it with the performance of the main actress, Brie Larson, playing Carol Danvers. Apparently, she's a great actress. That's what I've heard. And she won an Oscar, so I guess it's true to some level. So, where was that in this movie? Because she either was not trying or she was giving it her best, and everything she did was just wrong. This woman does not need to be playing a superhero. She just doesn't have it. This wasn't the role for her if she really was trying. If she wasn't trying, well, that's clear to see. Um, Carol Danvers really doesn't have much of a personality to speak of in this movie. I mean, like, we've got Tony Stark. He definitely has a personality that you can pin down. He's snarky. He's a bit full of himself, but he's definitely very confident, and he does know what he's doing. He's earned that confidence. You can see it. He's very competent. He's very laid back. You got Steve Rogers. He's very militant. He's very, what's the word, reserved and introverted. He's also very determined, and he's got a really big heart. And then you got Thor, and he's just Thor. Come on. Carol Danvers is just there. She's just there. And like, she walks into a room and you feel nothing. She does have pretty good interactions with Nick Fury and some of the other cast members, but again, like, that's not her on her own. She really needs like an entire other movie's worth of cast to even build her up as a character. Like the scenes that she has with Jude Law's character, Yanrog, her mentor, who ends up betraying her at the end, because the whole Star Force betrays her because it turns out the Kree are the bad guys. The scenes that she has with him are okay. The scenes that she has with Marvel are fine, I guess, maybe, if I want to be nice about it. Definitely the scenes with Nick Fury. Samuel L. Jackson couldn't even save this movie, man. He tried so hard. I could tell he was trying so hard. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. Yeah, I mean, like, she's supposed to have this best friend named Maria Rambeau, who is supposed to be Monica Rambeau's mother. Monica Rambeau was Captain Marvel back in the 80s, I think. Way before Carol Danvers became Captain Marvel. This was when she was still Miss Marvel, wearing the black leotard with the lightning bolt on it. And Monica Rambeau was just a kid in this movie because it's in the 90s, and I guess they're trying to build her up to be the next Captain Marvel, which they could have just made this movie about her, but they didn't. Okay, whatever, Disney. You want to make a whole movie to advertise your progressivism, but instead you made a movie about a blonde-haired white girl instead of the black woman. Looking at your side eye, Disney. Anyway, yeah. What was my point? Right. So Carol Danvers, on her own as a character, is a very blank slate. And a lot of people are saying, like, oh, but she has amnesia, and she's been brainwashed by the Kree, so that's probably why. Like, no, okay, even when you've been brainwashed or even when you've lost your memory, that doesn't erase your humanity. That, you're still a person underneath all that. Your memories help influence who you are. They're not the entirety of your being. So the fact that you've lost your memory doesn't do anything. Is this still recording? Oh no. Sorry about that. False alarm. Yeah, it was still recording. This stupid machine just didn't tell me. So anyway, yeah. Honestly, and the whole movie is like that too. It was just very bland and empty. It felt very empty. It was 2 hours of flashy colors and girl power. That's how I'm going to describe this movie. Flashy colors and girl power. And not much else after that. Yeah, nothing really happens in this movie. You don't need to see it to understand Avengers Endgame unless they pull something really far out of left field, because I didn't see any connection that this could possibly have to Endgame. And I didn't think it would, especially considering that it takes place all the way in 1995 and Endgame takes place in the current era. And, really, this movie only exists so that you know who this extra character in Avengers Endgame is. That's really the only reason this movie exists. So I'm like, oh, we had to add Captain Marvel to Endgame, even though she was never supposed to be there. But no one knows who this character is. What do we do? Oh, let's give her a solo movie right before the movie comes out, and then people will know who she is. Okay, well, we got to figure out all this stuff. It doesn't matter. Just toss her out there. We'll work it. We'll work the rest out later. Sorry, that's not how it works. And getting back to that other thing that I was talking about before. So the whole premise of this movie, and the thing that really just kind of takes all the energy of it, is that arc. Yeah, and I was talking before about how Carol gets her memories back and she upgrades her powers. That's a really big plot point, and the best way to summarize the whole thing without going into too much detail and taking up too much time is the fact that this movie has a really bad case of breaking the number one rule of cinema, which is show don't tell. Where everyone's always telling Carol about things, and the movie is constantly telling the audience about things. We never get a chance to see it. Like Carol is supposed to be a very emotional character. Everyone's always telling her, oh, you need to keep your emotions in check, or you can't let your emotions control you. But there is never any point in any time when it seems like Carol even has any emotions. So that's kind of hard to do. And also, she's just too insanely powerful. She spends the entire movie just being insanely powerful. She gets into a situation, she punches herself out of it. Oh, look, she got into some trouble. No problem, she'll just punch her way out of it. And then at the end of the movie, because they gave her this power inhibitor, because if you have a super strong, pretty much a living photon cannon at your dispense in your army, naturally you want to dumb it down and make it less powerful than what it already is. Because that makes sense. But anyway, they put this power inhibitor on the back of her neck. And basically, all she has to do is just reach back, pluck it out of her neck, and she's already like 10 times more powerful just from doing that. So why she hasn't done that before, who knows. But the point is, it's just there's no arc. She just exists and gets more powerful. That's it. It's not like there's some, trade off to using her powers or anything. It's just she's just insanely powerful, and that kind of takes all the suspense and tension out of any situation you could possibly get in. It's no fun to watch a character just be able to plow their way through a situation. That's why a lot of people have a hard time relating to Superman. But anyway, just wanted to say that before I end the video, because it's already getting super long for a quick review. So thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, whether you like this movie or not. Let me know what you thought. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm right? Be sure to leave a like, and also be sure to subscribe. I'll be back with another episode of the Amazing Wild Card Show real soon. See you next time.